Hello, everyone. Good morning to today's peacetime session. So, I hope this is not everyone's first time, but if you are, welcome to peacetime. So, today's peacetime session will be about friendship and being a good friend. So, I wonder what wisdom that entails. We all like to be good friends, I hope, I assume. So, let's see how we can be a better friend, maybe, after listening to Venerable Nicholas's wisdom talk today. Before we begin, for those of you who are not aware, our schedule for Peace Point Meditation is currently a little bit in flux, meaning that we are on a new schedule temporarily. So currently Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays sessions are canceled. However, we still have our Sunday sessions from 9 to 11:30 and our Friday sessions, which are not guided. So there's no teaching when present, but it is a silent space where meditation, if you're interested, can occur. So you can be meditating on Zoom with other individuals if you'd like. Other resources for meditation are our Facebook page, our YouTube page. Oh, sorry, we still have Thursday. I was wrong. We still have Thursday sessions, so only Tuesday and Wednesday peacetime sessions are canceled. But if that's not enough for you, then you can check out our resources on Peace Point Meditation's Facebook page, website, or YouTube channel. Venerable Nicholas also has his own YouTube channel, which he'll tell you more about. And if you're looking for a community, you can always join the MindGem app or go to mindgem.com, or maybe it's .org, but it is a website in which you can find tons of meditation content, have mindfulness reflections where you can, keep track of, hey, like, how's my meditation going? Or just build a community. So in case you're one of those people that like to not go about meditation solo. So here we are. It's on the screen now in case you've never visited it. I think it's a wonderful website with tons of resources. Maybe give it a try. There's lots of different programming depending on what coast you live on. This happens to be our Western coast, Pete. So catch what you can and see how meditation can benefit you today. And last but not least, we have our wonderful full moon event coming up. Happens once a month, but this particular month it's very special. So Thursday, May 27th, we will have our full moon event right here on the Zoom link. Same password, same link. It's from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. This full moon is particularly special because it is coinciding with a Vesak Day ceremony in which we celebrate Buddha's birthday, day of enlightenment, and day of passing on under the light of full moon and with candle lighting. So I think it'll be a lot of fun, and I hope to see many of you there. Okay, last but not least, so before we begin our friendship and being a good friend wisdom talk, we'd like to do our traditional stretching up before sitting for a long time. Stretching. So goodbye for now.
The next few poses will be done in a standing position. Please move slowly and at your own pace. Keep the sturdy chair nearby for balance if needed. If you find that I'm talking faster than you are moving, please take your time and do fewer repetitions. Take a nice deep inhale and exhale. Place the feet about hips-width apart and grounded on the floor. Lift the toes and spread them nice and wide and feel the navel pull gently in towards the spine. Push the toes into the floor and lean forward just a little bit. Feel the muscles that keep you steady. Lean back just a little bit and feel the toes come up. Feel the muscles that keep you steady in this position. Now push all four corners of the feet into the floor. Notice the steadiness of mountain pose. Notice how the steadiness of mountain pose feels. On the next inhale, roll the shoulders towards the ears, back and down so the shoulders are slightly open. Let the palms rest open to the side. Inhale and let the arms rise with the palms facing up. Exhale, bend at the elbows and allow the hands to come down the center line. Sink into the knees just a little. Repeat this again. Inhale, lift the arms with the palms facing up. Allow the hands and face to be relaxed. Continue with this movement at your own pace. Breathe as you move and try to coordinate the breath with the movement. On the next breath, lift the arms back over the head. Fingertips point in, palms face up. Imagine that you have candles in the palms of your hands and you do not want to spill them. Turn the fingertips so they face behind you. The palms remain up. Turn the fingertips to the side and then to the front like an offering, then out to the side walls. Breathe as you move, up to the top with the fingers facing in again, towards one another, and then forwards like an offering, then out to the side walls. Breathe as you move, up to the top with the fingers facing in again. Let's do this rotation one more time. After the second rotation, allow the hands to cascade down by the side and let them rest. Pause for one slow inhale and exhale. One more breath. Inhale, exhale. This next exercise is excellent for strengthening the spine and gently stretching the muscles of the back, front, and sides. Attempt to make the movement easeful and gentle. We will do these movements with various arm positions. The first arm position is the easiest. Please be sure to stay with the one that feels best for your body. We will demonstrate them all. Take the right hand to the waist and then the left. Roll the shoulders open. And on the exhale, lean to the right. Inhale to the center. On the exhale, lean to the left. Inhale back to the center. Roll the shoulders up, back, and down. And on the next inhale, gently pull the navel towards the spine. Pull the shoulder blades softly together. Get a small lift in the chin and feel a sense of lengthening through the front of the body. On the next exhale, begin to fold gently forward. It does not have to be all the way. Bend the knees slightly. Inhale and rise back to a standing position. Open the left arm to the side. Keep the elbow bent. Leave the right hand on the waist. Inhale. Exhale, lean slightly to the right, and then return back to the center. Bring the left hand down to the waist. Lift the right arm. Inhale. Exhale and lengthen to the left. return to the center. Roll the shoulders open. Gently pull the navel in towards the spine. Pull the shoulder blades softly together. Get a small lift in the chin. Exhale and fold forward halfway. Inhale back to standing. Open the left arm again. Inhale, and on the exhale, lean to the right. Inhale and return back to the center. Place the left hand on the waist. Lift the right arm. Inhale. On the exhale, lean to the left. Inhale and return back to the center. Roll the shoulders open. Lengthen through the front of the body. Slightly pull the shoulder blades together. Get a small lift in the chin. Exhale and fold forward. Knees slightly bent. Inhale and return to standing in mountain pose. Pause for a moment. Inhale and exhale. For this warrior sequence, attempt to keep the movements gentle and relaxed. If you notice that you are struggling, move the feet closer together. Lower the arms or make the movements smaller. This pose is great for strengthening the legs, respiration, and opening the shoulders. Step the left foot forward just a few feet. The back foot points in at a 45-degree angle. The front knee bends and the hips face front if possible. Inhale, open the arms and bend at the elbows. On the exhale, bring the hands and elbows towards each other. Inhale, open the arms and push the heart softly forwards. Relax the shoulders. Exhale, bring the arms together. Inhale, open the arms to where you feel comfortable. Exhale, relax the arms inwards. Inhale, open and expand. Exhale, contract. Inhale, exhale. Bring the hands back down by the side. Return to mountain pose. One breath here. Inhale, exhale. Step the right foot forward. Take a moment, there's no rush. Ground the back foot into the floor. Bend the front knee. When you are ready, open the arms. Inhale. Exhale, bring the hands and elbows towards one another. Inhale, open the arms. This is a relaxed opening in the chest. Exhale, bring the hands and arms towards one another. Inhale, repeat again, creating spaciousness with a full inhale. Exhale, contract and relax the arms slightly. 2 more times at your own pace. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Let the hands rest down by the side and return back to mountain pose. Pause here for a few breaths.
Welcome back to the 10th online episode of Live Peacetime, hosted on alternating Sunday mornings by Peace Point, with myself, Phra Nicholas Thanissaro, live streaming from Dhammakaya International Meditation Center in Azusa, California. Today's session will be about an hour and a quarter long and will consist of a 20-minute talk and 20 minutes of meditation, finishing up with half an hour of conclusion, answers to viewer questions submitted in advance, and news updates. Last time you saw me, we looked at authenticity and the Noble Eightfold Path. as a way to live up to the spiritual transformation challenge for integration and commitment in our practice. The topic for the Dhamma talk today will be friendship, other friends' influence on us, and our influence on others as their friends. Again, this session I would encourage you to send in any questions you have by posting them on the Peace Point Meditation YouTube page or Peace Point Meditation Facebook page, or by sending them to me via Jintana Wachalapong, so that I can have a shot at answering them the next time round. Today we come to the subject of friends, and in a sense of the influence that we have on others as a friend and the influence that others have on us as a friend. We will start by looking at those who are likely to be a bad influence on our spiritual transformation, and continue to look at those likely to be a good influence on our spiritual transformation. When I'm talking about friends in this context, it doesn't just refer to our peers and buddies. It can include family members and even people you have a passing acquaintance with. Whatever their age relative to you, whether it be parents, children, teachers, mentors, bosses, or employees. Friendship is quite a major source of influence on our character, whether it be parents bringing up children, or whether it's the people we hang out with. All those people have habits that can brush off on us, and in the same way the habits we have can brush off on other people too. If what brushes off on us is not good, then it would be referred to as fake or false friendship. You can consider false friends to be like a jinx on our spiritual transformation, rather like the Deva Bhutta Mara or personified gremlins that we met up with a couple of sessions ago. Unfortunately, when selecting your friends, you cannot tell a false friend by external appearances. People who may be a bad influence on our spiritual transformation can come in many guises. When we want to identify a false friend, we need to look for behaviors that betray their underlying quality of mind. The sort of behaviors that are most clearly identifiable are those that come out in the context of our interaction with them. We are not mind readers who can know others' intentions. All we can observe are the things which others express openly, that is, others' words and actions. And to this end there are 5 telltale signs. Firstly, they like to persuade us to do unwholesome things. Secondly, they like to interfere with things that are none of their business. Thirdly, they like to do anything that's improper. They get angry when spoken to decently, and finally they refuse to comply with rules and regulations. If you come across any of these 5 features, then it should already set warning bells ringing in your head. Some people who may appear on the surface to be friendly might be false friends masquerading as friends. In addition to the 5 telltale signs I just listed, we need to be aware that there are as many as 4 types of false friends: the mercenary, the friend of empty promises, the flatterer, and the one who leads you down the road to ruin. Each of these 4 types of false friends has 4 characteristics, giving a total of 16 forms of behavioral characteristics to look for. To fill in a little more detail for each type of false friend, the mercenary is the sort of person who tries to appropriate your possessions, sacrifices little in the hope of gaining much, helps you only when threatened by the same danger, and who is only friendly to you when it serves their own interests. The friend of empty promises is the sort of false friend who tells you how sad they are not to have been able to share with you something that's already run out, promises to share with you things they don't have yet, tries to win your favor with empty promises, and has excuses every time called upon to help. The flatterer is the sort of false friend who sucks up to your evil doing, sucks up to your doing good, sings praises to your face, but gossips vindictively about you behind your back. Lastly, the friend, in inverted commas, who leads you down the road to ruin, is the sort of false friend who is your loyal drinking companion, is always at your side when you roam the streets at unseemly hours, frequents games and shows with you, and joins you at the gambling table. Such behaviors illustrate 16 ways in which a false friend will unwittingly reveal their lack of responsibility for your spiritual future. Besides leading us to ruin, such people lead society unfalteringly in the direction of deterioration in a way that's hard to remedy. With friends like these, who needs enemies? A false friend is someone you need to keep at arm's length, or better still, at the far end of a 10-foot pole. If a person is contaminated with the dangerously contagious disease of exploiting their friends, we have no alternative but to isolate them. And I suppose in this day and age, you could say that they need social distancing. However, as we shall see, it's not physical distance which we use to quarantine a false friend. It's more a sense of psychological distancing. In terms of interaction, we need to avoid getting too tangled up with them. That is effectively how we keep psychological distance. In practicality, this means interacting without transaction, in terms of joining, receiving, and giving things to a false friend. Joining means eating with or otherwise letting them get their feet under your table. Receiving means marrying them, adopting them, or employing them. The point where we start to associate with them is the point where we take them on. Giving means lending them money or otherwise investing with them. Such giving includes giving them consideration, praise, encouragement, lodging, food, or payment. All these are included in the definition of association. If you are involved with false friends on any of these three levels, you need to distance yourself before sustaining any further damage. We turn now to look at those who have a positive influence on our spiritual transformation. Living in a fairly individualist society as we do, possibly we like to flatter ourselves that everything great that happens in our life happens well because we are born that way. We find it hard to accept that we owe anything to anyone else for the successes in our lives. But if you look back in your life to where you experienced a breakthrough of some sort, where maybe you've come a long way in your education or got a work promotion, then often in retrospect you can identify people who had a transformative influence on you when you were making the decisions which got you to that point. Even when you started attending the meditation center, you can probably look back and see the influential people supporting you to do that. So, there is a real sense in which other people contribute to good things in our lives, and if you were to try to put a percentage on that, you would likely reckon that half the time other people are responsible for helping us come to the right decision. In Buddhism, however, often the influence of other people is given even higher priority than that. In fact, Buddhists attribute pretty much the whole of your success in life to other people's influences. If one is able to find such a person who is a good friend, then it's said that you should really go out of your way to let all their good habits brush off on you as much as possible, because such people are hard to find. A noble friend, or a person who is selfless in the way they share knowledge and advice, is not the same thing as being an educated person, although what brushes off on them, or brushes off on you, might be something of their education. What identifies such a friend mostly concerns their habits, because when a person exemplifies certain habits, those habits will brush off on you too. Such people can have a huge impact on our potential for spiritual transformation. It's said that if we are sure someone can be a good friend to us, even if they chase us away, we should still try to associate with them, because they are probably the most precious thing that will happen to us in life. And I should also clarify that being a good friend to someone is not just the same as being someone's friend, because otherwise you could just look on your Facebook page and see how many friends you've got, and put a number on it, right? I should warn you that sometimes the more friends you have on Facebook, the less you have in real life, because it's to do with the quality of friendship and often people who are your so-called friends just go along with everything you say. Just like the false friend, a true or spiritual friend may not be recognizable by external appearances. You need to observe telltale signs from their behavior. We need to look for the following 5 telltale signs which will reveal the wholesome inward qualities of someone who has the potential to be a true friend. Firstly, a true friend is someone who would like to shepherd others to live their lives in a proper way. Secondly, a true friend likes to take full responsibility for the things that are their own business. Thirdly, a true friend is someone who tends to favor the honest and the decent. Fourthly, a true friend is someone who is not easily angered. Lastly, a true friend tends to favor self-discipline and orderliness. In conclusion, the good thing about associating with a true friend is that it will always allow us to mimic the good habits of that true friend, while on the inside it will allow our mind to become bright and clear like that of a true friend. Alternatively, the special characteristics of the true friend can be explained in terms of their sense of responsibility for human dignity on 3 levels: responsibility for their own personal dignity, responsibility for the human dignity of others, and responsibility for human dignity in a fair economic system. We will consider leadership qualities more in terms of responsibility for human dignity in our next session. There are as many as 4 different types of true friends, namely true friends who are characterized by helpfulness, constancy, wise counsel, or sympathy. In turn, each of the categories of the true friend has 4 characteristics, giving a total of 16 characteristics to look for. A helpful friend is one who protects you even when you're off your guard, helps to protect your property even when you neglect it, is your refuge in times of danger, and always provides you with twice as much as you ask for. A constant friend is constant in bad times and good. They confide in you, they don't go spreading your secrets around, they don't abandon you when you fall on hard times, and they would even die in your place. The friend of wise counsel will warn you against unwholesome behavior, encourage you towards wholesome behavior, save up new things to tell you, and point you in the direction of heaven. Finally, the sympathetic friend is one who doesn't laugh at your misfortunes, will congratulate you on your good fortune, will speak out against anyone who maligns you, and stands up for those who speak well of you. Like all the groups of people closest to us in the world, the best way we can get virtues of the true friend to brush off on us is to associate with them as good friends, to be close to them in 5 different ways, most of which align with the 4 bases of sympathy we learned about in the previous session. Firstly, we need to be generous to that noble friend, putting our compassion into practice when that true friend experiences hardship or suffering. And generosity is the way we can strengthen our bond of friendship to that person. Secondly, we need to speak kindly to that noble friend, choosing to speak to them only words that are polite and true. Thirdly, we need to help and act for the benefit of that noble friend, with altruism, to want to do things for their benefit. As the saying goes, a friend in need is a friend indeed. Fourthly, we need to be consistent in our friendship to that noble friend. We should not suddenly treat them better or worse because we or they got a promotion. Lastly, we should never tell lies to that noble friend. If we're not honest with them, how can they truly help us? The opposite of the advice for dealing with false friends can be applied to true friends. That means that we should try to join, receive and give to true friends. It is good to eat with them and let them get their feet under our table. It is good to adopt them, marry them, or employ them. It is good to bind ourselves to them by investing with them or lending them money. All 5 ways of responding to a true friend, if we ever have the luck to come across such a genuine friend, are ways for us to associate closely with them and treat them with respect. It is such people that society and nation alike are crying out for, because such a person has tremendous power of virtue stored up inside them, not just to help us in our spiritual transformation, but sufficient to turn the tide of society and economics around them in the same virtuous path. In conclusion, we need to keep our psychological distance from false friends so that their bad habits don't brush off on us. At the same time, we need to take care to treat true friends with respect so that they can bring out the best in us. In distinguishing false friends from true friends, often there's no clear black and white, but if a person's habits are clearly more than 50% false, we would categorize them as a false friend, for all intents and purposes. If a person's habits are clearly more than 50% noble, for all intents and purposes, we can categorize them as a noble friend. Speaking of which, we come to time for some meditation for ourselves in order to really be more of a good friend to ourselves. So at this point, if you would like to find a comfortable sitting position for yourself as you listen to my instructions for the meditation now. Now we're going to sit for meditation. If you'd like to find a comfortable position for yourself in meditation, with your right leg on your left leg, your right hand on your left hand, the index finger of your right hand touching against the thumb of your left hand, with your palms facing upwards and your hands resting in a relaxed way in your lap. Close your eyes very gently. Close your eyes as if you were going to go to sleep. And adjust your body to make it appropriate for meditation, because the sort of posture which is suitable for meditation must be relaxed in every way. Therefore, imagine that your body is relaxed completely. Relax so that there is no remaining part of your body which has any stress or tension anymore, all the way from the muscles of your eyes, forehead, temples. May they all be completely relaxed. The muscles of your shoulders, both arms, right down to the tips of your fingers. Make sure they are all completely relaxed. Relax the muscles of your body, chest, trunk and abdomen, making sure they are all completely relaxed, all the way down to the tips of your toes. Adjust your posture so that it's suitable for meditation, both stable and relaxed. If you're able to adjust your body properly, you'll have the feeling that you're not leaning too far forward, nor too far back, not too far to the right nor to the left, but you'll feel stable, rather like a mountain unshaken by the winds blowing from the 4 directions. You'll be able to sit for a long time without having to move around too much. This is the proper sort of position which we're aiming for. And sitting with your right leg on your left leg, your right hand on your left hand, with the index finger of your right hand touching against the thumb of your left hand. In fact, it's the most perfect position, which has been modeled from the posture of the body of enlightenment. The living Buddha inside us sits in exactly the same position. He has an upright position, sitting cross-legged, in a perfect position of poise. Therefore, adjust your body properly before you sit for meditation any further. You shouldn't pay attention to any external distractions. You have to make sure your body is properly adjusted before continuing with the next stages of the practice. Once your body is completely relaxed, we turn our attention to relaxing the mind, because meditation is mostly about training the mind. Make sure your mind is relaxed, so that it can be a suitable receptacle for mindfulness, wisdom, and tranquility. The mind appropriate for meditation is always a mind which is empty of any extraneous thought, with no anxieties or worries, whether it be thoughts about family, work, or studies. We mustn't allow any worries about these things to stir up our mind anymore. If we are to have a mind empty of all of these anxieties, we will be better thinking about the teaching of the Lord Buddha, that all things, whether animate or inanimate, trees, animals, the world, the sun, and the moon, or even the people living in the world, whether it's our parents, grandparents, or close family, whether it's the other living beings in the world, all of these things arise, perpetuate, and then decay. They are all changing all of the time. They are never permanent. They cannot remain the same even if they want to. They are all of the nature of suffering. They are not our true self, because they are changing the whole of the time. If they were really our true self, really the core of our being, it would have to be something stable. We are not like a diamond which becomes more mature with age. All things are changing the whole of the time. If we remind ourselves of this for a minute or two, before we get down to the meditation practice, reflecting in this way will allow our mind to become empty, and it's a mind which will be suitable for meditation, because before long, if our mind becomes dispassionate and detached, we will be able to attain the Dhamma inside ourselves easily. As for those who are already familiar with the meditation instructions, you can continue with your own practice. But for those of you who are new, please listen carefully to the instructions which are to follow. You should imagine a bright, clear object at the center of your body, such as a bright, clear crystal ball, rather like a polished diamond sphere, without any scratches or blemishes on it. If we create such an image in our mind, the image of a large diamond, about the same size as the tip of your little finger, and imagine it at the center of the body, then this will be helpful as an anchor for the mind. Imagine this diamond or crystal ball bringing our mind to a standstill at the clear center of the ball, while repeating the mantra to ourselves silently with the words Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang, over and over again. No matter how many tens or hundreds or thousands of times we have to repeat the mantra to ourselves, you'll have to keep on repeating it over and over again, for as long as it takes for our mind to come to a standstill, and to see a clear, bright crystal ball arising spontaneously at the center of ourselves, seeing it with the same clarity that we would see it with our own eyes. If we catch sight of such a crystal ball, there will be no real need to continue with the mantra anymore. We should make sure we see the crystal ball at the center of the body the whole of the time. The fact that we need to bring our mind to a standstill at this point, rather than anywhere else, is because this seventh base of the mind is the only place in the world which is the starting point of the pathway towards nirvana. If we want to attain nirvana or attain the Dhammakaya, we have to start from this point and nowhere else. If nirvana is going to arise for us, it has to arise at this point. If we are going to extinguish suffering, then we have to extinguish it at this point. If we want to find true happiness, then we have to find it here at the seventh base of the mind. Stopping the mind at the center is thus the starting point for meditation. If we don't manage to achieve this, then it's going to be hard to go any further with the meditation. We have to go at it patiently. We have to make sure that we get it right. Today, as we meditate, we'll take the opportunity to explore something of the oft misunderstood subject of the nature of nirvana. The word nirvana refers to a place or a state of mind where all defilements have been extinguished. It is a place beyond the reach of the three prisons of the triple world. Nirvana can have two shades of meaning. It can refer to the state of mind of a person with no further defilements, or it can refer to a place where those who have freed their mind of defilements can go to partake of eternal bliss. Nirvana as a state of mind, or sa-upati-sesa nirvana, is a living experience of an enlightened person. Thus they don't have to die first and be reborn to attain it. For such a person to touch upon nirvana, they must have purified their mind from all defilements, but their five aggregates, or khandha, have not yet broken up. Dhammakaya will be manifest inside them, imparting the same happiness as if they were really inside nirvana as a realm of existence, but they are still alive in their human body. Nirvana as a realm of existence, or anupati sesa nirvana, is a location which exists as a realm outside the body and mind. Sometimes it is called posthumous nirvana, because you can only go there after the breaking up of your five aggregates for the last time, and entering it you will not be reborn again. At the end of their final lifetime, the body of enlightenment of a person who has become unified with nirvana as a state of mind will be drawn to the center of the body and enter upon nirvana as a realm of existence, something which is the quest of all the noble ones. Nirvana is an empty area outside the triple world, which is beyond the reach of suffering. The place is the abode of all the bodies of enlightenment, of all the fully enlightened Buddhas, Pacceka Buddhas, and Arahants who have attained enlightenment in the past. Nirvana is full of all their bodies of enlightenment. In that place there is only happiness, because no suffering can reach there. There is no rebirth, aging, sickness or death, because everything is made up of Dhamma aggregates. This place cannot support people or angels or Brahmas, because such beings are not made up of Dhamma aggregates. Only bodies of enlightenment can enter thereon. This is the type of nirvana that you can only attain when you are an Arahant, a Pacceka Buddha, or a fully enlightened Buddha, who passes away from this world for the last time. When the five aggregates of their physical body break up at death, their body of enlightenment will be attracted directly into nirvana. Nirvana actually exists, but is not made up of normal elements like earth, water, wind and fire, in the same way as the things we can see with the naked eye. It is neither in this world nor another world. It is not the sun, the moon, or the stars, because all of those things are still within the three spheres or bhava, and are hence mundane or lokiya. Nirvana is outside the three spheres, and is transcendental or lokuttara. In nirvana there is no movement, no coming or going. Those who have attained nirvana are able to see past Buddhas sitting deep in meditation, or nirodha samapati, more numerous than all the grains of sand in the four cosmic oceans. All that remain to them are their Dhamma bodies, but their Dhamma bodies are more exquisite than any Dhamma body you can perceive within yourself. Dhamma bodies that are self-sufficient with boundless happiness, independent of any outside influence, because the minds of all those Buddhas have transcended all suffering entirely, and have attained the true fulfillment of life. In this respect, the scriptures of the Uttana explain there is the existence of a sphere in which earth, water, fire, air, the sphere of infinity of space, the sphere of infinity of consciousness, the sphere of nothingness, the sphere of neither perception nor non-perception, this world, the next world, the moon, the sun, have no part. In that place, there is no coming, going, existence, arising, falling away. In that place that has no abode, without feeling, but it is the end of suffering. Most of our knowledge of the difference between the terms sa-upatisesa nirvana and anupatisesa nirvana comes to us courtesy of the commentary by the great abbot of Wat Pak Nam Pasijaran, or Phra Mongkol Thepmuni. Without understanding this distinction, the more you read about nirvana in the textbooks, the more confused you will become. The reason is that most textbooks have been based on interpretation of older texts, rather than being based on experience. Some texts even go so far as to say that nirvana doesn't exist. They say it is just a metaphor for having come to an end of defilements. Some even say that animals can go to nirvana. However, if we have an accurate understanding of nirvana, it can boost our inspiration to cultivate ourselves until being able to attain nirvana for ourselves. When our mind becomes completely united with the body of enlightenment, it is at that point that we will be able to see nirvana both as a mental state and as a location. With the understanding that goes hand in hand with such an experience, we will be able to lead our lives in a way that doesn't lead to harm. We will not be attached to the worldly vicissitudes like wealth and loss of wealth, honor and loss of honor, praise and insult, suffering and happiness. To see the Dhamma in the beginning, it means that we have to acknowledge suffering first of all. Once we see suffering for what it is, we will be able to become dispassionate concerning suffering, and we will become inspired to practice meditation to the point that we will attain the Patamamagga sphere inside. Once we reach this point, after this we will be seeing the Buddha inside. But if we are unable to see the Patamamagga sphere, we have no chance of seeing the Buddha inside. In the words of the Buddhist scriptures, he who sees the Dhamma will be able to see the Buddha. In fact, these words were first said to a disciple of the Lord Buddha called Vakali. Vakali belonged to a Brahmin family of Savatthi and became proficient in the Vedas. Usually people are inspired to faith by one or more of 4 attributes of a monk: the appearance, the voice, the humble manner of dress, or the teachings he gives. Vakali, however, was inspired to faith by the appearance of the Lord Buddha alone. After seeing the Buddha only once, he could never again tire of looking at him, and followed him about everywhere. Any day he could not see the Buddha, he felt low. In order to become closer to him, he became a monk, and spent all his time, apart from meal times and bathing, in contemplation of the 32 signs of the great man, or Maha Purisa Lakkhana, which was so well exemplified by the Buddha's person. He was satisfied simply to see the Buddha, and had no further thought of listening to the Buddha's teachings or striving for liberation. The Buddha waited for the right opportunity to teach him, because what he had to say would surely upset Vakali. But at the same time these things must be said for Vakali's benefit. One day, when the right time came, he banished Vakali to a place where he could no longer see the Buddha, and Vakali was so upset by the Buddha's retort that he prepared to commit suicide by jumping over a cliff on the Vulture's Peak. Fully aware of Vakali's intentions, before he was able to jump, the Buddha went to him and appeared to him teaching with the words, Alang Vakali Kim Te Imina Puttikayena Titena Yoko Vakali Dhammang Pasati So Mang Pasati Yo Mang So Dhammang Pasati. The sight of my foul body is useless.
He who sees Dhamma sees me. He who sees me sees the Dhamma. Filled with joy by this teaching, Vakali rose in the air, pondering on the Buddha's words, and realized arahantship in mid-air. Thus, anyone who sees the precursor of the Dhamma, namely the Pattamamagga sphere, before long they will be seeing the body of enlightenment inside, because the thing that changed Prince Siddhartha into the Buddha was none other than attaining the body of enlightenment inside. It is a thing which changes worldlings who are still thick with defilements into those who are on the path of Buddhist sainthood. Changing ourselves to be someone who has a supreme life and a supreme mind. The lowest level of the body of enlightenment is called Gotrapu Dhammakaya. This means the body of enlightenment, which has broken free of being a worldling, but it's still not at the point of Buddhist sainthood. It is a halfway point between being a stream enterer and a worldling. It is like having one foot in each camp. One foot in the world and the other foot in nirvana. With such an attainment, you will be able to get the comparison between the two sorts of existence, between the two sorts of aggregates, the conventional aggregates and the Dhamma aggregates, because at this point we are still subject to different emotions in the mind, but at the same time we are able to see things according to their true nature. We will be far from the four forms of prejudice, because of greed, hatred, delusion or fear, but there will still be subtle forms of defilements remaining in the mind. But once we come to the Gotrapu, body of enlightenment, we will be able to see things according to their reality. We will not be subject to their prejudices anymore. Once we accept things for what they are, and we will start to see the body of enlightenment of a higher level of purity. And we see that the five aggregates are rather like a mask which we wear in order to perform on stage. But when we remove the mask, then we see who we really are. So now, may all of you be fulfilled in your wish to attain the triple gem inside yourself. Each their own meditation now for a few more moments in silence until we come to the appropriate time. Sabba Dhamma nupavena, Sabba Sankha nupavena Sattha Soti Bhavanto Te. So if you'd like to come to the end of your meditation for today, you can gradually open your eyes again. If you feel at all uncomfortable, then slowly try changing to a more comfortable position and gently finish your practice. So now, after our meditation and having earlier looked at how others may be a good or bad friend to us, let's look now at the sense we can be a good friend to others, and indeed how we can be a good friend to ourselves. There's quite a long job description for a person who can successfully minister to others as a good friend, and I'll go through them quickly first, then go back through them in more detail. Firstly, that person needs to be endearing, which is what you would generally expect of any sort of friend,
which means that they're going to be nice to you, to say things you like to hear. But they also need to command respect, and I'll come back to these in more detail in a moment. They are praiseworthy in their habits. They are artful in the things they say, and are also artful in listening, so that they know when to shut up occasionally. They can deal with deep topics, and last but not least, they don't encourage others towards things that are harmful. So, the first quality of a good friend is being endearing. It can come down to many things, even quite basic things like the manners you have. I hear the manners have gone out of fashion lately, but generally, if you meet someone for the first time, you tend to come away with a positive first impression of them if they are well-mannered, especially if they are helpful to you. People want to be around you if you are an endearing person. You notice this characteristic quite a lot with old folks. They have something about them that makes people want to be close to them, to hold their hand and snuggle up close. It's almost like a sort of charisma that they have. They have a lot of loving kindness, a sense of empathy for others. But for the purposes of being a good friend, just being endearing is not quite enough. It needs to be balanced by a second quality of inspiring respect in others, what you might call a natural command of authority. If you want to be the sort of friend who actually influences others in a good way, you can't just go along with everything they want, because sometimes there are areas where you need to suggest changes. It's a basic truth of leadership that you need to be accepted by a person before you can teach them something. So of course you need to start by being nice to people, and if you're nice to them to the point that they start to accept you, then on occasion they might actually listen to you if you have advice for them. But generally you wouldn't accept advice from a complete stranger, right? You tend to accept advice from people who you like to some extent, or you have some sort of common ground with. And don't forget that if you ever want to give anyone else advice, then you need to have a connection with someone before you can start to turn the conversation around to advice that they might not find it so easy to accept from you. Commanding respect means not always allowing another person to do the easiest thing when it's not the best thing. Generally, this balance between endearing and commanding respect can be imagined as the difference between the light of the sun and the light of the moon. The moon tends to give us a gentle sort of light that makes everything look attractive, while the rays of the sun can be quite harsh sometimes for situations where you need to be cruel to be kind. Third quality of a good friend is being a praiseworthy person. Unfortunately, to talk about virtue or morality, it's not the same as talking about the weather or about a sport, because people actually look at the speaker to see whether they exemplify what they're talking about. Because if the speaker is a hypocrite, then they fail their audience even before they started. If you're saying that someone needs to be more patient and you look impatient about the fact they're not being patient enough, then they're not really going to take you very seriously. You must be able to exemplify the character qualities you advocate. Once upon a time, there was a little boy in India who was newly diagnosed as being diabetic. So no more sugar was allowed, but the boy kept on eating sugar and made himself really sick. His parents told him not to eat sugar, but he carried on eating the sugar regardless. So his parents thought, what can we do about this? And they decided to take their son to see Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi asked what the problem was, and the parents replied that their son needed to stop eating sugar, and they wanted Mahatma Gandhi to tell him. Mahatma Gandhi said, okay, but come back and see me in 2 weeks. So the parents looked disappointed and asked, look, we travelled a long distance, can't you just tell him now? No, Mahatma Gandhi insisted, come back in 2 weeks. So they went away, and they came back 2 weeks later, and only then did Mahatma Gandhi say, boy, stop eating sugar. And the boy said, okay, and never touch sugar again. The parents agreed, good, that's so much better. But then they asked Mahatma Gandhi, how come you couldn't just say that 2 weeks ago? Mahatma Gandhi explained, well, 2 weeks ago I was still eating sugar, so if I told him at that point to stop eating sugar, my words would have had no weight to them. So I had to stop eating sugar myself first for my advice to that boy really to hit home. In the same way, if you're trying to get someone to do something to improve their character, then you should start with the things that you have managed to master for yourself, because those will be the things which others will be impressed by, and ideally to have done so many good things that other people are in awe of you. The fourth quality of a good friend is being artful in speech. Talking to people is generally simple enough, but not if you want to talk with a purpose. So let's say you are trying to be a good friend to another person, and you are trying to inspire them to do something better with their life. Then you might need to have a certain artfulness in the way you construct your conversation. If it comes to criticizing people, then it takes a lot more artfulness than usual for them even to want to speak to you anymore. So there are certain techniques to deliver criticism that you've probably learned about in management, because if people keep making mistakes in your workplace, then eventually you will get a decree of foreclosure. So you can't afford to say nothing. You need to find ways of sugarcoating unpalatable criticism to make it easier for them to accept. Sometimes you can do it by what's known as sandwiching. This is where, for example, you might start with, "Oh, you've done your hair, and your shoes, they're so cool, and if you could just mess up a little bit less on the production line, that'd be really good too, and by the way, I really like the color of your car." So in between the compliments, they catch your drift that, as their line manager, that you are not that happy with the way they are putting a strain on your profit margin. But they don't feel so badly about that because they got lots of compliments along the way. Some people can't take criticism directly, so you may need to be indirect and resort to some more ingenious passive-aggressive tactics like leaving self-help books lying around the home or putting anonymous sticky notes on the fridge door. Sometimes you can talk about the subject with someone else so that the guilty person overhears, and that makes it somehow easier for them to accept because it's not aimed directly at them. Sometimes it helps if you don't roast the guilty person in front of all their colleagues, or if you take them a little way out of the room for the conversation so they don't have to have the embarrassment of loss of face. So in conclusion, for delivering criticism, you can tell someone directly, you can tell it to someone else. You can ask someone else to tell it to them, maybe someone who they respect more than they respect you. There's a whole science of artful speech where you make sure the things you say are true, useful, polite, properly timed, and compassionate. Over and above this, for criticism, try to smile when you are delivering criticism to people. It helps make a big difference because it makes them feel that you are talking about a particular incident or behavior that you don't like. It's not the fact that you don't like them. So it doesn't feel too much like personal criticism, and don't forget to praise before fault or sandwich to soften the blow. The fifth quality of a good friend is being artful as a listener. A person who talks all the time will fail when trying to be a good friend to others because sometimes they need to stop talking and tune in to actually realize what makes another person tick. The only way to find that out is to listen to that other person occasionally. Before getting to the point in the conversation where they start to listen to you, some listeners will hit you with a barrage of insults or protests. So generally, a person who is put off by a lot of insults will find it hard to be a good friend to certain sorts of very vocal people. But if you are fairly thick-skinned as a person, and you can ride out the insults thrown at you, you will find that even the champion of roasting has only a limited stock of insults, and eventually they will start repeating themselves, and then they will run out. After that, you will have your cue to actually turn the conversation around to what you originally intended. The sixth quality of a good friend is being able to talk convincingly about deep topics. Small talk is generally not that difficult to learn. You can even get how-to books about it these days, especially designed for introverts. But to deal with deeper topics takes a more advanced level of skill, because you need to have personal experience of what you're talking about. Spiritually oriented topics are often quite abstract topics, and some people are not able to get their heads around the subtle meanings. If you are a skilled good friend, you will be able to make quite complex things simple for other people to understand. For example, you might think it would be hard to explain the law of karma to someone who works on a farm. But if you can explain karma in terms of if you plant wheat, then you'll get wheat. If you plant barley, you will get barley, and there's a time lag between the planting and the harvest, you can achieve quite a lot by using a metaphor based on the listener's prior knowledge. But of course, you have to listen to them first to know what their previous level of knowledge is. Some people, in their enthusiasm, forget to start from what the listener is interested in, rather than what they are interested in. So they end up giving the explanation that is the equivalent of a cold call, where the sales rep hasn't even said hello and they're already trying to sell you something. Try to avoid this sort of evangelical fervor. Generally, meeting people halfway is good practice in being a good friend, since most people have a concern or something which they are not happy with, and that could be the jumping off point for a conversation about changing something in their life. The final quality of a good friend is to avoid sending mixed messages. You may be the sort of person who likes to encourage other people, but you have to be seen to be a person who doesn't just encourage things indiscriminately. Don't be the sort of person who this week says, come to the meditation center, but next week says, let's go to the nightclub. You will leave the listener with the impression that this guy just wants me to go everywhere with them. So avoid sending mixed messages. Make a point of avoiding involvement with the things that are slippery slopes to behaviors that you're not in control of, like maybe gambling or drinking liquor. As a good friend, you need to have a clear policy on that. So everything I said applies where you are dealing with another person. You may find that you score higher on some of these qualities than others, because some are quite hard to master. Some may take a lifetime's experience to perfect. Some people are only good at one thing, but that should be the virtue they talk about with other people. People say, well, I'm a very shy person. What could I possibly say that would influence another person for the better? But even the example you set can be an influence in a good way for other people. And that is still a part of being a friend to other people. It's not all about just talking. Unfortunately, for some people, despite all their latent enthusiasm for spiritual transformation, when they try to express it to other people, it falls flat. If this is your experience, then there's something you need to do before you go talking to other people, which is also very important, and some might say is even more important than talking to other people. That thing is to be a good friend to yourself first. Why? The reason is because even inside yourself there are at least two sorts of voices. Sometimes they are compared to a little angel and a little devil, one on each side of your head, trying to pull you one way or the other in the decisions you make. Being a good friend to yourself means that you need to make sure that you listen more to the voice of the little angel than to the voice of the little devil. It's not easy, but if you make a habit of it, then the little angel has quite a lot to teach you about the better side of yourself. Also, trying to meditate regularly can be considered a way of being a good friend to yourself, because it's listening to the better part of your mind. The deeper part, that is. Especially for those who are new to meditation, trying to do maybe 20 minutes a day is a very important part of being a good friend to yourself. It can be at any time of the day, early in the morning, late at night, or in your lunch break. All these are good times, but your meditation practice needs to be regular to really become second nature. If you want to be a good friend to others, it might include many things. For example, to encourage another person to make a donation to a good cause, to give up smoking, or perhaps talking a person down from the ledge. Nonetheless, you need to bear in mind that without the input of someone like yourself, most people left to their own devices tend not to think of the noblest, most transcendental goal to achieve in their lives. Many people are quite unashamed about doing damaging things to themselves, so there's no harm in being unashamed about encouraging them to do the opposite occasionally. Some people are willing even to put their lives on the line to do really crazy things, so that's what you're up against. With being a good friend comes a new level of challenges, and some people might complain that it's already enough of a challenge to become a better person yourself. But if you have the feeling that you're already beginning to master your own spiritual transformation to some extent, try reaching out to help other people around you, and you'll realize just how much suffering abounds in the world. It is a training in itself. Nonetheless, don't forget that you can't always help everyone, and generally speaking, the rule of thumb is that if people don't want to be helped, then generally you won't be able to help them either. But if there's even a hint of that person wanting to become better, then there is an opportunity to reach in and help them. Also, I should point out that it's sometimes easier to help strangers than it is to help those closest to you. The reason is because strangers don't know anything of your backstory, so they just take your advice at face value. The people familiar with you will always be comparing you to a more immature version of yourself, and they will think your spiritual transformation ambitions are nothing more than a passing phase that will soon wear off, so they find it hard to take anything you say seriously. To minister to those closest to you is important, but you have your work cut out for you. You will need to be especially patient to wait for that person to be ready to listen to what you have to say. To illustrate this point, there was once a respected doctor working at a university in Thailand who was notoriously hard to convince to do anything charitable, because he was such a clever person that everyone had to look up to him, and if anyone encouraged him to nurture his spirituality, he would always dismiss them out of hand. One day, a bunch of young students came knocking on his office door, and they were fundraising, saying, "There's no need for you to become a monk, but it would be really kind if you could support other young people like ourselves to have this opportunity to join a Buddhist monk ordination." The doctor was standing with his hands on his hips like this, and was about to launch into a barrage of insults about how gullible the students were, when his thumbs noticed something strange that wasn't there before. Being a doctor, he knew very well that, hey, that's my kidneys, and only now am I noticing that there's a lump that might be the start of something malignant. It occurred to him that I'm the doctor, but now I'm the one who is getting sick here, so there's the start of some cancerous growth above my kidneys, which he only just noticed because he had his hands on his hips. So at that moment he had a complete change of heart about the value of a spiritual refuge. So he welcomed the fundraising students into his office to write a big check for the cause they were talking about. So the moral of this story is that sometimes people need to have something to trigger the awareness of suffering before they can open up to the value of the cessation of suffering, or eventually the Noble Eightfold Path. So this is something you need to bear in mind if a person is not immediately ready to listen to any advice you're giving them, even though you're pretty sure that it's good advice. It might not be quite the right time, and you will need to hold your tongue and wait for the time when they are more receptive. So, that was a look at the topic of friendship, the effect false friends or noble friends have when their habits brush off on us, and finally, the topic of the good friend, which dealt with how we can be a better friend to ourselves and to others. So we come to the part of the live stream where we try to answer some of the questions sent in by viewers. My question today comes from Kathleen of Glendora in California. Here comes the question. Okay, I would like to know more about the relationship between the Eightfold Path you talked about last time and merit. Firstly, how long does merit last? Secondly, is there a way of measuring merit when it is necessary to use it? And Is there a different amount of merit for each link of the Eightfold Path? Hi Kathleen, it's exciting to meet you in the online space for a change. I think your question consists of at least 3 questions in disguise. First is the question about how long merit lasts. Then there's a question about calculating and using up merit. And finally there's a question about the different amounts of merit for the different parts of the Noble Eightfold Path. The first part of the question is about how long merit lasts. Merit can be categorized according to its duration into 2 types: mundane merit or lokiya punya and transcendental merit or lokuttara punya. The first sort, mundane merit, is the merit that people are generally familiar with. That is to say, for people for whom the mind is not completely pure at the time they do the good deed. Such merit can run out. When the merit's used up, it will no longer give its benefits, just like a tank full of petrol which has a limited range. The second sort is transcendental merit, which is a sort of merit that arises in the pure mind when you touch on the stages of enlightenment. Such merit is steadfast and will never diminish or be exhausted. Thus, the purity of the mind also has an important role to play in dictating the quality of the merit we are able to accrue for ourselves. The second part of the question is about using up merit. We use up merit, in fact, every moment we are alive. If at any point our merit runs out, then we will drop dead where we stand, irrespective of our health. Although we cannot control our life expectancy, it should be said that we use up more merit when we take risks such as surviving a bungee jump or a free fall parachute jump. So don't use up your merits on these if you don't have to. Even though you should bear in mind that merit doesn't follow the exact same rules as economics, because the more you share it, the more it grows. Also, it's possible to measure the amount of merit, but that's really only possible to do accurately for advanced meditators such as Kunyaya Jan, the master nun whose you have learned about at our temple, for example. And in practice, what we generally tend to do is just try to make sure we have more than enough merit in any time so that we don't have to worry about it running out. It's like making sure we have a regular income rather than always having to check how much money is left in our bank account before we spend anything. Thirdly, the question about different amounts of merit for different links of the path. Generally speaking, deeds carry more merit than words, and words carry more merit than intentions. Right meditation may carry more merit than the other links of the Eightfold Path because it directly contributes to helping us break free from the cycle of rebirth. The interesting thing about the Eightfold Path is that it moves us from the level of mundane merit to the level of transcendental merit. For the lower coils of the Eightfold Path, the amount of merit is thus relatively less, because they give rise only to mundane merit that will eventually be depleted. As you reach the higher coils of the Eightfold Path, however, they give rise to more merit because they give rise to the transcendental sort of merit that does not run out. For those of you who like to visit the temple in Azusa to bring offerings, please be informed that despite moving to a less restrictive tier in California's reopening blueprint, we continue to use the new temple site for offering in the parking lot next to the main temple building between 10 and 11 a.m. each day. If you have trouble with the passcode on the gate or wish to visit at a different time, please call Jenny on 562-716-2961. There will be a monk on standby in PPE to receive the offering and give a short blessing for visitors. English-speaking monks will be on duty on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and a short ceremony for 5 precepts, meditation, and a blessing are given on the weekends starting at 10:45 a.m. Needless to say, the whole temple would like to rejoice in the merits of all continuing to take the opportunity to support the temple in this way. Meditation continues to be valuable in this COVID era to help us cope with social distancing. And in this respect, here at the temple, although there are still no face-to-face teaching sessions for the interim, you can continue to access Dhamma teachings in English at the YouTube channel called Peace Point Meditation or the Facebook page of Peace Point Meditation. For aficionados of Zoom meetings, another way you can access Peace Point content is to join Zoom meeting ID 970-1192-2337, meeting passcode 072, but bear in mind there's no way to pause or replay the media on Zoom for those of you who are trying to take notes. And for those of you who have been following my talks, you may also be interested to subscribe to a YouTube channel which I've set up in my own name, which can be found by searching for Phra Nicholas Thanissaro on YouTube, where I have uploaded more than 100 clips of meditations, Dhamma talks, funeral homages, talks for children, and so forth. Meanwhile, there are a few further changes to the 2021 program from Peace Point. Every Sunday morning, you have now got me with live materials and archive materials on alternating Sundays. Venerable Sopon now appears every Thursday evening. There's a silent meditation, slightly longer for those of you who enjoy that. For the benefit of families listening in, there's also a special show for children in English known as Shining Stars that goes out at the new time of 6 to 6:30 p.m. every Monday evening with bedtime stories and a meditation short enough to keep the attention of younger listeners. Outside of the live streams and on-demand programming, there's also the newly updated MindGem app, which you can download for free, allowing you to listen to meditation and Dhamma talks in English on your cell phone even when you are offline. For good measure, I would like to remind viewers, again, even better than posting thank you or great talk or sadhu, which are encouraging, you can move to the next level and try posting a few questions, and I will do my best to answer these on my next session. In the meantime, try to stay healthy, avoid recklessness or complacency in the face of the virus, maintain a positive mood, speak only positive words, forgive others, extend good wishes to others, and meditate daily, trying to distance yourself from those who are a bad influence and be a better friend to yourself and others on your own journey of spiritual transformation. So for today, this is me, Phra Nicholas Thanissaro, signing off for this session. So long, folks, and stay safe.